One easy thing that you can add to your piano practice right now that's going to make a surprising difference is distance exercises. Step 1, hit a C major chord with your left hand. Then I want you to play the root of that chord, C, 2 octaves down from where you play that chord. And then I want you to alternate between that chord and that note, seeing if you can get it as fast as possible while retaining accuracy. Next, pick a different chord. It can be any chord that you know. How about E flat major? And then repeat that through as many chords as you know. You can also do the same thing with the right hand. It's just that you're going to be hitting that root note with your pinky. Welcome students, your piano teacher Tim here. This channel is all about giving practical piano instruction to everyday people like yourself. Speaking of which, the metronome is another great thing that you can add to your practice that's going to make a huge difference. The metronome provides a series of clicks and beeps that helps us maintain a steady tempo, but that's not all. It also helps you pick out problem areas, because if you're able to play along with the metronome and then all of a sudden you can't, well guess what? You need to work on that measure again, and I would check the fingering. Number 3 is thinking lighter. You would be astonished at what a big difference that just thinking lighter can have on your playing. It can mean the difference between playing like this and playing like this. Number 4 is fix your posture. If you're playing with slouch posture, it will greatly inhibit your ability to play up and down the piano, and it's also great for giving you long-lasting back pain. At the piano, you should be sitting up straight with your arms gently at your side. They should not be tensed up. You should not look like a T-Rex. You should be able to play up and down the piano fluidly, but your core should be engaged and you should be sitting up straight. Your bench should be parallel to the piano at a comfortable distance for you to play. Again, you shouldn't have T-Rex arms, but you shouldn't have mummy arms either. The idea is comfort with flexibility. Number 5 thing that will make a huge difference that you can do right now is to start using arm weight when you play rather than finger strength. Let me show you. The tendency for a lot of beginner students is to focus a lot on their fingers when playing the notes, and that makes sense, right? It's a piano, it's meant to be played with your fingers. But what you don't want is stiff fingers, and you don't want a claw situation going on, because what that's going to do is that's going to make it really hard to play up and down on the piano at any kind of speed, and it's also going to result in hurt, tired hands. The much better way to go about this is to gently use your arm weight to get more sound or less sound out of the piano. See, as I'm playing this collection of notes, you can see my forearm gently bobbing up and down, and that's because I'm really letting my arm fall into the keys with each note. Not only is it much easier to play that way, you can get much better dynamics. So if you're brand new to this, what I want you to do is I want you to hover your arm over the piano and just drop it onto the keys. I don't want you to use your actual arm as your arms and fingers should not be hammers, but rather letting the gravity do the work. So just try maybe a scale, playing with just arm weight to get used to it, because when you're first doing this, it can definitely be a struggle, especially if you've been used to using your finger strength this whole time. If you found this lesson helpful so far, make sure to leave a like button, because that allows other students to know that this is a quality lesson that they can learn from as well. Number 6, pay more attention to dynamics. You would be surprised with students even playing into months, years, even myself sometimes. I'm just not putting as much into dynamics as I could be, and maybe you're just forgetting about it altogether. Dynamics is really one of the things, along with articulations, that beyond the notes gives music its overall sound, quality, and just makes things sound a lot more, dynamic? Playing with dynamics can mean the difference between playing like this and playing like this. Question for the comments, and I always love to hear your opinion because it helps me make better lessons, and I also just like to hear back from the students watching the lesson. And that question is there anything that you've added to your own piano practice that's made a big difference? I would love to know, especially if it's something we haven't talked about today, but even if it is, let us know in the comments so that we can all learn together. We're getting into the really juicy ones here at the end, probably the most important things that you can add to your practice that's going to make the biggest difference. And I actually have a story about this one. Sight reading. Sight reading is being able to look at a piece of music from sight first time and being able to play through it. And guess what? When I was going into Westchester University School of Music for my audition, they wanted us to sight read. But there was a problem. The problem is I didn't even know sight reading was a thing. You can look at a piece of music and play it the first time? Really? The answer is yes, but ideally you want to be looking at music that's a little bit below your current playing level. You don't want to be playing anything more difficult because, again, the idea is to be able to play from the beginning of the example to the end of the example with relatively few mistakes in between. When I sight read, I like to read through once as a genuine sight read, and then again, correcting as many mistakes as I possibly can. And one of the really important things to do with sight reading is to spend a minute or two looking through the example even before you begin playing. Look out for the key signature, time signature, where the tricky notes are, where the sharps and flats, the accidentals are at. Are there any big hand placement things going on, and anything that you would normally look at a piece of music before you start playing, you especially want to do it with sight reading. The more of the information and groundwork you can lay ahead of time, the better off you'll be playing through the sight reading example. I have a lot of lessons on sight reading around on the channel, but what I want you to do is, if you don't already, pick up this Improve Your Sight Reading course book. It is on Amazon. This is by Paul Harris. And what I really like about this collection of books, there's 8 levels. They give you sight reading examples from the very, very beginning what you should be starting with as a beginner. And then by the time you get to like book 5, you're playing stuff that looks more like real pieces and things like that. So it introduces you to things from the very beginning. Number 8, be mindful of finger technique. If you aren't paying attention to what fingers you're using in what places, or you're not writing in your fingering, you're doing yourself a huge disservice, and it's taking you way longer to learn pieces than it should. If you're slowing down at certain parts of the piece, we talked about that with the metronome earlier, you got to check your fingering. That is probably the number one thing that's going wrong. I actually have a super awesome lesson I'm going to link to you at the end that just came out about proper piano finger technique. It has some things I've never talked about on the channel before, and I really, really want you to check it out here. This isn't the metronome one. I really, really want you to check out that finger one. It can really, really help bring your piano playing to that next level and clear a whole lot of confusion, a whole lot of frustration up for you. So please watch that video and learn all about proper piano fingering. Just a quick example to prove my point. We have the Bach invention in D minor here. And just taking a look at this first measure here, I'm going to play these notes, and I'm not going to pay any attention to the fingering going on. Oops, I already made a mistake, or I've already run out of fingers. I can't even finish this first measure because I literally don't have a 6th, 7th, and 8th finger to hit the rest of the notes. And now what a lot of beginner students will do is that, but see how disjointed that sounded? If you add in finger crosses at the right times, things are going to work out way better for you. Number 9 is to memorize. Please start memorizing some of your pieces. You don't need to memorize all of them, but what memorizing a piece is going to do for you, think about it. When you sit at the piano, you're playing a piece. You have to concentrate on so much, right? Getting the right notes, the right dynamics. Maybe you're playing for a teacher or something, and there's so much going on in your head. Well, guess what? If you memorize the notes, the dynamics, all that stuff I said, even if you're playing in front of another person, you can then focus on the musicality of the whole thing, which is like the really, really, really focusing on like what ideas is the composer trying to bring out in this piece. And then you can focus on, instead of individual notes, bringing it to that, even the next level, even beyond dynamics, even beyond articulations. You're like, what is the composer trying to get across? Because you'd be, well, not even surprised. I'm telling you right now that every composer, when they're creating a piece, has like kind of a thing, some sort of idea they're trying to convey throughout their music, and memorizing it is going to help you get to that next level. Start thinking about things in terms of musicality and not just notes on a page. Okay, before we have the final tip, which is the most important one, I have a little assignment for you. I'm sorry, I know you don't like assignments, but or homework, but you know what I want you to do is I want you to write down all these tips. Try to do it from memory. But if you can't, you can go through the video again and watch parts of it again. Write down all the tips I gave you. I want you to put it on a piece of paper, and I want you to put that somewhere close to where you practice so that you can look at that and make sure that you're adding some of these great things in your piano practice that I'm telling you, especially if you add all of these at once, it's going to make an enormous difference. I'm 100% serious. And that brings us to our final tip, and that is to watch this lesson right here. I told you about that finger technique one. It's one of the most important things you can work on as a pianist. And check out this for a little bit of sight reading if you're a piano finger master, which you're not. You just need to watch this video and stop making excuses. Your piano teacher, Tim, here. Thank you so much for coming by, students, and I'll see you in the next lesson.